Not so long ago, a Guardian columnist looked at a brand new political party with 130,000 members and decided they were all white.
Let's go and have a beer in the pier.
Exactly, that works.
Straight to the most toxic label in modern politics. He didn't just call the policies extreme, he called them, and I quote, an existential menace, and warned of a conveyor belt of radicalisation. A few hours later, Rupert Lowe, the leader of that party, replied on X with the energy of a man who'd just been handed more free advertising. A political party broadcast on behalf of Restore Britain from Owen Jones in The Guardian. Thank you, Owen. No outrage, no long thread, just a polite, heartfelt thank you. And that's the thing these hit pieces never actually seem to understand. Every time the establishment wheels out the big guns and fires words like that around, at a normal group of people, the public doesn't run for cover. They get very curious, they open their phones, they type in the name, they read the actual policies on the website, and a few thousand of them hit join. These articles aren't damaging Restore Britain. They're actually doing its recruitment for them, and they're doing it for free. Today we're going to look at the actual data, the official numbers, and the structural failures the press would rather not talk about. Let's get into the facts. Rupert Lowe is a businessman, former Southampton FC chairman, and now MP for Great Yarmouth. Restore Britain launched in early 2026. Within months it claimed 130,000 members, roughly equal to the paid membership of the Conservative Party. Polling out of the gate put them at 7 to 9% nationally. In the Makerfield by-election, they took 6.8% of the vote from a standing start. In the Norfolk council elections, they stood 9 candidates, all 9 candidates won. Those are not fringe numbers. When that many people join a party that quickly, you've got two options. Either 130,000 ordinary citizens suddenly became ideological extremists overnight, or they finally found someone willing to say out loud what they've been thinking for years. The Guardian and Owen Jones seem to have chose option 1, but let's see which one fits the evidence. The article tells readers that Restore Britain wants to deport legally resident foreign nationals who fail to integrate, calling it strikingly elastic. What it doesn't show you is the actual text. Restore Britain's immigration page sets out a conditional residency framework. Status could face review where specific benchmarks aren't met, such as English language proficiency, active employment, long-term welfare reliance, and criminal convictions. Now, you can think that's harsh, or you can think it's fair, but it's definitely not vague. Now look at mainstream countries no one targets with these kind of labels. Denmark's permanent residency scheme requires 8 years of legal residence passing formal language exams and years of full-time work. In Belgium, authorities can order legal residents to leave if they become an unreasonable burden on social welfare or pose a threat to public order. And even the UK under Keir Starmer. In the year to January 2026, the Home Office removed 5,689 foreign national offenders. At the end of 2024, over 19,000 more offenders were sitting in the deportation queue. Restore Britain's policy is a strict version of what's already happening inside a lot of mainstream European democracies. Check the Restore website, read the policies, and let me know in the comments if you think it's too harsh or not harsh enough. If it's an extremist threat when Rupert Lowe says it, then Denmark, Belgium, and Keir Starmer's Home Office have some serious problems too, apparently. The column opens with, what qualifies as too right-wing these days? It takes on greater urgency when contemplating the rise of Restore Britain. That's a great opener to strike fear into unquestioning mainstream media consumers. He claims Nigel Farage now looks like a wet liberal and points to Elon Musk's support as a warning of a conveyor belt of radicalisation. Now, notice the trick. Start with blunt quotes from Rupert Lowe, skip years of spiralling costs, broken promises, and obvious failures, and then blame the people for reacting to the backlash. And wanting controlled borders and safe communities aren't new or extreme ideas. They've been the majority view for years around the entire world. What has changed is that ordinary people saying those things start getting hit with ideological slurs from a side that claim to be empathetic, yet acts like the very monsters they warn you against. Over the last 15 years, the pace of change was unprecedented in peacetime. Record migration, illegal crossings in the hundreds of thousands, public services cracking, and near-record national debt. Through it all, the political class said, if you have a problem with this, you're the issue. Think of an elastic band. The further you pull it one way, the harder it snaps back the other. People were told concerns about borders were problematic, that talking about institutional failures meant attacking a protected group. Now, there's genuine surprise when that snapback is this sharp. When what you're told on the evening news and what you see at the end of your street don't match, you become skeptical naturally. The The damage was done the moment ordinary people realised the institutions supposed to represent them were more interested in managing perceptions than admitting failure. Only about 1 in 3 adults trusts modern-day news media. Restore Britain didn't create that gap, they just stepped into it. And let's look at the country the column was written in. Net migration hit 944,000 in the year ending of March 2023, and since 2018 more than 200,000 people have crossed the channel illegally. 2025 alone saw over 41,000 crossings. The National Audit Office says asylum accommodation contracts will cost around £15.3 billion over their 10-year term, 3 times the original estimate. Meanwhile, the social housing system is overflowing. As of March 25, a record 131,140 households were in temporary accommodation, including 170,000 children. Council spend £2.8 billion a year just keeping families in B&Bs. Layer on top a 37% rise in food costs between 2020 and mid-2025, and at the same time, knife crime in England and Wales is over 55,000 offences a year. Shoplifting is up 20% in a single year, yet fewer than 11% of violent and sexual offences end with a suspect charged. If someone breaks into your home or steals your phone, you get a crime reference number and an automated email saying the case is closed. How does that match up with what you're noticing in your local area? If your answer to these conditions is simply calling anyone who wants it reversed a toxic extremist, you haven't solved the issue. You've just told most of the country that you think they're the problem. Now the part that should have been the centrepiece. As many of us will have heard, in 2025, Restore Britain commissioned a 219-page independent report into organised exploitation and structural institutional failures, concluding that systemic failures occurred across at least 149 local authority areas. In June 2026, the National Crime Agency launched Operation Beacon Port, ordering 8 police forces to reopen cases closed due to missed lines of inquiry. The government set up a £65 million statutory inquiry to examine how institutional culture and external pressures influence these failures. Here's where it collides with the establishment's rules. The political left has widely pushed for codes of conduct drawn up by APPG on British Muslims. That framework explicitly codes public discussion of these regional scandals as a benchmark example of unacceptable speech. Speak plainly and bluntly about systemic abuse where cultural or religious pressures played a part, and you risk a career-ending label. But the official independent investigations into the failures say the exact opposite. They explicitly show that local authorities did not intervene for years precisely because they were terrified of being labelled intolerant or bigoted. The fear of that label, the very label these definitions seek to weaponise, is heavily documented as the reason vulnerable individuals were left unprotected. The language official guidelines seek to restrict is the exact language that would have been needed to protect those communities. Outrage is aimed at the wrong target. The column warns about authoritarianism rising from the right. Let's look at the guardrails we live under right now. Parliament has quietly built a brand new architecture around public protest. Under the Public Order Act of 2023, police can impose serious disruption prevention orders on individuals without a single criminal conviction, restricting their movements, associations, and online activity for up to 2 years. Under the Online Safety Act, ordinary people can face up to 5 years in prison for sending a digital message deemed to cause trivial psychological harm. Police forces across England and Wales are now making upwards of 12,000 arrests a year under communications laws. That's an average of more than 30 arrests every single day for digital posts. Civil liberties groups have pointed out that this baseline domestic figure vastly outpaces raw arrest numbers for online expression seen in tightly controlled international states. I think we all know who we're talking about there. Think about the message the state is sending. We don't have the resources to protect your physical safety or property, but we have all the time in the world to police your hurt feelings. And it doesn't stop at policing individual comments. The state is now moving to structurally rig the entire digital architecture. The government has launched a public consultation titled Watch This Space, a new strategic direction for UK media. Under the banner of a mandatory prominence regime, the state is planning to legally force platforms like YouTube to give privileged, prioritised position to legacy media outlets like BBC, ITV and Channel 4. Warnings sent directly to creators, this means independent journalists, educators and commentators will be systematically downranked. Your recommendation feeds and user interfaces will be legally overridden to push legacy establishment narratives back to the top, regardless of what the audience actually wants to see. Think about the staggering irony. The public has overwhelmingly abandoned legacy media because they no longer trust it. So instead of winning your trust back through honest reporting, the establishment solution is to pass a law that forces platforms to shove them down your throat while burying independent voices. To that, the prevent duty and the updated definition of extremism, which catches mainstream views on culture, identity, or biological sex spaces. When ordinary citizens are treated as potential security risks for baseline views, they don't feel protected from a future threat of the right. They feel suspect under an authoritarian framework already built by the so-called liberal centre. If 130,000 working class people join a party talking bluntly about immigration and structural failure, you can either ask why or declare them all mindless dupes of the far right. He chose the latter. It results in a way of doing politics that writes off public concern as illegitimate, hands out strict penalties for wrong speech, and uses state powers to shut down disruptive protests, and then wonders why the trust in the media is in the 30s. Restore Britain exists because people want someone who describes this pattern honestly. So where does that leave us? A political class that presided over record levels of online arrests, crippling tax rises, hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings, and endless systemic scandals. Their conclusion is the root problem is Rupert Lowe. The Guardian calls Restore Britain where toxic politics enters the mainstream, while Europe quietly runs similar policies without any of these labels. It's time we return to sensible politics in this country. It's like watching someone set fire to their own kitchen and then blame the smoke alarm for being far right. The link to Owen Jones's article is in the description. Read it, make up your own mind, and let me know what you think. That used to be called critical thinking. These days, it might get you a visit from the speech police. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.